Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and update show discussing all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more going about at the moment. The stories on new ownership surrounding Manchester United with the Emirate of Dubai being potentially the only person that can afford the new 9 billion price tag slapped on United, which we will get into. Fabrizio Romano has come out and spoken about United transfers. Romano has revealed the signings he thinks is possible for Manchester United in January and revealed the players Manchester United are already making steps to sign. One of them being Rafael Leao, which is honestly, guys, he is so good. Like when I say, like we hear about gap post stats, I know the Leao doesn't have gap post stats. Leao is that player that you just look at and you are like, nah, man, this guy is good. I'm just going to tell you that now. He is fantastic, the Milan player. Whenever I watched him play, I'm going to talk about the news surrounding him, what's going on surrounding him, and all of that as well. There is a bit of an update on Mason Greenwood at the moment. I saw all over the news. Basically, Mason Greenwood's gone to jail. I don't want to really talk much about it. He did go to court in a tracksuit today, which I just thought, like, you idiot, go in a fucking suit. But other than that, he has gone to jail until November 21st, when I think he can appeal that. But he breached his bail, so he's actually sitting in a cell right now. Regarding Greenwood, we don't want to get too much into the Greenwood thing. We want to talk more about the Leao situation as well. But before I get into today's live stream, guys, I just want to quickly remind you that this video is sponsored by the One Football app. As you can see, I've got the One Football app up on my laptop, but I also use it on my phone a lot because I'm on my phone. It's so much easier to get your phone out than the laptop. And I'm always scrolling through the One Football app, looking at all the latest football news. And here on the One Football app, it's given me this big story about Leao, what Fabrizio Romano said about Leao to Manchester United. I can get this on the One Football app. Luke Shaw, we're going to make a video on this tomorrow, I think. This is actually such a sick story. Luke Shaw has actually come out and said, I deserve to be benched. And Luke Shaw said some big things as well. The Ballon d'Or is going on as we speak. Fabinho finishes ahead of Casemiro in the Ballon d'Or, which for me absolutely makes no sense why Fabinho's ahead of Casemiro in the Ballon d'Or, because Casemiro's been better. I think Fabinho's been crap. And then obviously, if you want to stay up to date with the Greenwood thing, because I know a lot of people do find court case and stuff interesting, it is all there on the One Football app as well. So make sure you go and check out the One Football app. There will be a link in the description. There will be a link pinned in the chat. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the stories going about. We will dive into the Twitter in just a second, but Glazers out 58 in, says Charlie, and someone said rather have Ratcliffe. And what we're going to talk about regarding the Glazers is, we know, and I'm sure you guys are aware, you've seen it, the Glazers apparently slapped a 9 billion price tag on United and say they won't sell unless they get £9 billion, which, let's be honest, is really fucking greedy. That's really ridiculously greedy from the Glazers. But can we be the slightest bit surprised? No, the Glazers are greedy bastards. And because there's a 9 billion price tag on United, Jim Ratcliffe came out and said, look, I can't get United. They don't want to sell. Because the Glazers don't want to sell, they've slapped a 9 billion price tag on United. And remember that we spoke about this. So an inside source close to the Glazers said, the Glazers don't love United. They have an emotional connection to United. So if it made sense business-wise, they'd sell United. So if they're going to get 3 billion, they go, well, 3 billion's decent, but that's what United's worth. So there's no point selling it for 3 billion when we can take money every year. But if someone came in with 9 billion, that's so much more than Man United's worth that the Glazers will sell. And this is what sources close to the Glazers said. And then I think it was confirmed, maybe by the Athletic, that the sale price of United is 9 billion, which Jim Ratcliffe can't afford. Jim said United's not for sale. He would love the club, but it's not for sale. The Glazers don't want to sell. They don't want to sell. However, if someone offered 9 billion, they would sell, is what's been said. And Jim Ratcliffe doesn't have 9 billion. But there are a few people out there with 9 billion. Lucky fucking shit. I would love 9 billion. Although I say that, I generally think if I won £100 million, I wouldn't know what to do with half of it. I don't know how I could spend more than £50 million in my lifetime. If I had 9 billion, I would buy United. Maybe I do need £9 billion. I never thought I'd need as much as £9 billion. Maybe I do to buy United. But obviously the Emirate of Dubai, the people in and around Dubai, they can afford 9 billion. And really, they are the only people that can afford United. They're the only people that can get United is the Emirate of Dubai. And the question marks going around is, are they going to make a 9 billion bid for United? There was obviously a report, and what we'll do is we'll get into this story first. We'll get into the Leao news in a second, but let me get into the Glazers story. But let me actually find it. But there was a lot of questions around, can the Emirate of Dubai will the Emirate of Dubai buy United and all of that? They are interested in buying United, but the difference between the Emirate of Dubai and Jim Ratcliffe is obviously they haven't gone public with their interest. We know that the purchase of Manchester United is well within the range of the sovereign wealth fund, such as Dubai, which is yet to follow Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia in adding a top-flight club to its portfolio, but the Emirate is a contender for United. We know this was a big story floating about in the past, that the Emirate of Dubai was interested in United, and right now it's the only person that can afford the Man United price tag, and if they're looking for a club, they will be looking to swoop up Manchester United. However, Jim Ratcliffe went publicly clear that he wanted to buy United. The Emirate of Dubai stayed quiet, but there is rumours and speculation that they are potentially prepping up the thing for United. Now, I don't think anything's going to happen regarding the sale of United in the next year or two, but I think in 10 years we could be with different owners. I do think we'll have the Glazers for a couple more years, but I do think, this could be something that develops over the next few years. We had lots of reliable outlets saying the Glazer sale wasn't far away, and one of the reasons a lot of people suggest the Glazers sale isn't far away is because you've got to remember the Glazers were selling off shares. The Glazers were desperately trying to sell off shares of United. They were thinking of selling our TV rights. They don't actually have the money to spend to keep United in the top four in the Premier League, because the Premier League is getting more and more money. It's more and more competitive. The Glazers are selling off rights. They actually offered 30% of the club to Saudi Arabia for 700 million because they wanted that money. Because that would pay off the debt. Not that they would use it to pay off the debt. They'd probably use it for something else stupid. But they actually looking to sell off bits of United because they're struggling to really run that large of a club. They haven't got that much money in their pockets. So the sale of United isn't particularly far away, but the Emirate of Dubai is obviously the rumoured contender. I do want to get into the chat. I do want to get into the news. I do want to, you know what? Should we go back to the OneFootball app? Should we go back to the OneFootball app? Because you know what? This video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. Obviously linked down below. So all the news we're going to be talking about, I'm sure, is on there as well. But let me go down to, where's the Man United section? Is this the Man United section? We are going to talk about De Jong. We are going to talk about De Jong to United in a second, but I want to get into the Rafael Leao story, and then I will touch on the Greenwood situation. But as Dwayne says, like, share, and subscribe as well, and hope Ratcliffe will purchase in future. I think with Jim Ratcliffe coming in, I guess that you could say there are better morals in that sense of, there's questions over the human rights of certain owners. But at the end of the day, honestly, I do not give a fuck who's the owner of Man United, as long as they put the club before anything, as long as their sole purpose is bringing back the club to the top. And maybe I shouldn't be saying stuff like that, but I mean, my whole thought process is I'm so fed up with the Glazers. I don't care who the owners are, as long as their number one priority is like, yeah, let's bring Manchester United back to the top as well. I would rather a team of Reds than being owned by Dubai. A lot of people would be against Dubai buying United, which is obviously understandable, like the Qatar World Cup as well. And Gaz said he'd be dead if it was that rich. I think, you know what? I know this is really off topic. I'll probably be a bit depressed. I've had £9 billion because I've got it all. I've got nothing to work for. When you play a video game and then you just like cheat on the video game, if you go on Minecraft, you're in survival mode, then you turn it into creative mode and you get your diamonds and you get everything you need, and you turn it to creative mode, then you go back to survival mode. It makes survival mode more boring because you've already got it now, so you get bored. Whereas if it's survival mode where you have to start from the beginning and work the way up, it's more fun. I actually think I'd probably be bored with £9 million. So I'd have to buy United, give myself a hobby, give myself something to do as well. But the Glazers need to go, and we will talk about the Glazers going. Knighton is 100% out of the race with the new sale price of United. No way Michael Knighton is getting near Manchester United as well. Scouting another winger, our footballer director is poop. Well, you make a good point. We need a striker and a midfielder before anything. But if I sit here and I had to highlight 5 positions Manchester United need, I would go with striker, I would go with winger, I would go with box-to-box midfielder, I would probably go with goalkeeper, and I'd probably go with backup right back. For me, they're the 5 positions. I would be looking at Ivan Toney as a striker or Osimhen. I'd be looking at a Gakpo or Leao as a winger. I'd be looking at a Bellingham or De Jong as a centre mid. I'd be looking at potentially right backs. I'd like Hakimi, but let's be realistic. Maybe someone like Timber that can cover the right back, centre back slot. And then obviously Diogo Costa as a goalkeeper. And we will talk about De Gea because basically, long story short, De Gea is reportedly not really wanted by Ten Hag. De Gea has made it very clear to Manchester United that he wants to stay. And De Gea has come and spoke to United and said to Manchester United, I really want to stay at the club. I really want to be part of the club, blah, 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 blah. But obviously, Ten Hag's not giving out De Gea this new contract yet. As much as De Gea likes United and wants to stay at United, Ten Hag is being very, very strict with actually giving De Gea this new contract. He's been very much like, no. And, you know, De Gea has been brilliant for United, brilliant servant, but I think long term, it seems that, you know, Ten Hag isn't a big admirer of David De Gea. But carrying on with this story, the news coming out here is that Manchester United have sent scouts to Italy to watch Rafael Leao. So this is the main story I want to get into. Then we might dip into some of the Greenwood stories, bits and pieces as well. And then I will dip into the live chat. Then we'll dip into the Luke Shaw story. The Luke Shaw story is brilliant. Then we're going to dip into the Eriksen story. Then we're going to dip into the main news. But Romano had confirmed that Manchester United sent scouts to watch Rafael Leao, the AC Milan player. Romano's confirmed we want the player, we're interested in the player. United and Chelsea really interested in Rafael Leao. One thing Fabrizio Romano did say, which you've got to bear in mind, is that although Leao would be like a move to the Premier League, would want to move to the Premier League, he will be very expensive because he's fucking brilliant. I mean, he's going to be in the 100 million ranges. And when you've just spent 100 million on a winger like Antony, I don't see why United will spend 100 million on a winger like Leao. And SM says we don't need to spend another 100 million on a winger. We have other positions to prioritise first. I agree. And this is the thing, like, while Leao is brilliant, United have other positions to prioritise first. And if we look at Rafael Leao's stats, they're nothing like Gakpo stats. But I think my thought process on Rafael Leao, if I'm being honest with you guys, would be because we need a striker and a midfielder more than another winger. I'd rather spend 30 million on Gakpo than 100 million on Leao and then get a striker and a midfielder in. I'd rather get Gakpo, Tony, De Jong than just Leao and De Jong, because I think if you get Leao, it's so much more money that I think United can't afford to spend more than 40 million on another winger. I do think we need another winger, but I think we need another striker and midfielder more. That I think with Rafael Leao, as good as he is, I don't think we should be spending 100 million on this guy who, look, you know, people say, oh, he's only got 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 goal contributions, 13 games. It's not even about the goals and assists. Like, Gakpo's goals and assists 10 times better than this, but it's like the eye test. And I hate when people say, oh, the eye test. Of course, stats are important, but it's a mix of good stats contributing to goals, but it's also a mix of the eye test. And sometimes you'll watch a player and you're just like, he might not get a goal or assist, but he'll put in a man of the match performance. You know, I love Bruno Fernandes, but like whenever he doesn't get a goal or assist, he doesn't seem to have a good game. Whereas Leao is the type of guy that even when he doesn't get goals or assists, he could be putting in that man of the match level performance. He's always looking really good. He's always looking really on the ball, and he does play as a left wing. He's very similar to Gakpo, but I think if he's going to be 3 times the price of Gakpo, and United need a striker more than a winger, considering we just spent 100 million on Antony, I do think the more smart approach would be going for someone like Cody Gakpo, who, if you look at the current season stats of Cody Gakpo, I mean, guys, this is just insane. Cody Gakpo, 13 goals, 11 assists in 18 games. I mean, that is 24 goal contributions in 18 games. Mostly plays as a left winger. Does play as a striker here and there. I think Gakpo would probably be the better choice for Manchester United as well. What do you guys think? Would you go for Leao? Or you're a bit with me saying you like Leao, you know, he's a fantastic player, but was not worth probably spending 100 million on a winger, just because of everything that's gone down as well. I just think, can United really even afford to spend 100 million on a winger? It's just crazy. And obviously this was the other article on Leao to United. Romano went on the United stand, again confirmed United sent scouts to watch Leao. Romano claims, and this is the big thing, I don't know if you can see this on your screen, I'm going to highlight this. Romano claims that the Serie A club would demand 150 million euros for their star man, and Chelsea was said to be interested in the Portuguese striker, but were blown away by the price tag. The 23-year-old is versatile, can operate as a left wing, but he can play as a striker here, Leao, as it's been said as well. And he's quick and he's got technical ability to drop deep in link-up play. And why Leao will be really good is because he's got really good technical ability, because he can be involved in link-up play, he can create chances, which is something I think right now the Man United team is struggling to do. We do look like a team that's really struggling to create chances at the moment. When I do watch Man United, I think, you know, where they're not seeming to be creating these chances at the moment as well. And Leao's best trait is his knack for goals and all of that as well. But I do want to dive into some more topics. I do want to dive into the live chat. I like Leao, but when you spend 100 million on Antony, you just can't be going for another winger. As good as he is, as good as I like the player, as brilliant as he would be for United, it's just crazy as well. I mean, the price is absolutely crazy. But I want to quickly touch on the Mason Greenwood news, because a lot of people have been asking about it, and obviously it's been all over. And we won't need to talk about Mason Greenwood again till November 21st. But if someone said Jonathan David, Alice, He's an all right player, but I haven't seen enough of Jonathan David to really have a judgment on him right now, Daniel. I really haven't. But I want to dive into the Greenwood news because we won't need to talk about Greenwood until the 21st. But if you are unaware, Greenwood is in prison. Mason Greenwood is in prison at the moment, and we can't afford to spend another 100 million. We need to spend wiser, or we won't get the squad we need. Exactly, Mr. Miracle. You make a good point. United need to spend 30 million on Gakpo, 50 million on Ivan Toney, and 50 million on De Jong, and I don't know, 20 million on the backup right back. And that's a realistic transfer window. Obviously, United will have to pay double for every player because we seem to be charged double for every player we want to sign because we're absolutely incompetent in the transfer market, absolutely idiotic, absolutely incompetent in the transfer market. But yeah, that's what United needs to do. Lautaro Martinez would be a good one, says SM. I agree, but again, I think he'd be overpriced as well. And when your team is kind of complete, you can compete for the top signings. Again, Marcus is right. Instead of spending 100 million on one player, we need to be getting those 30, 40, 50 million pound signings and covering multiple positions as well. But let's just get into the Greenwood story. So Manchester United player Mason Greenwood was remanded in custody until his next court appearance on November 21st. A district judge has decided. Now, if you're unaware of what this means, it basically means that Greenwood is in prison, essentially. So I'm going to quickly dive into this just so you guys know what remand in custody means, what the charges are and all of that. So Greenwood had a court hearing today. He was spotted at the court hearing in a white Nike tracksuit. I mean, if you want to be, I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't be saying this, but if I'm the judge and he comes in a suit, I'll probably be maybe a little bit nicer. But if I'm the judge, I've seen the voice notes, I've heard all of this and that, I've seen he's broken his bail, and then he turns up in a Nike tracksuit. Of course, you're not getting your bail. That's what I think. Just like you're at a court thing. I just think he's not helping himself at all. He's not helping himself at all. But it was said that he'll basically be in a cell from now until November 21st when his next hearing is. So he obviously was on bail from January until now. He broke the bail because he was contacting the victim, and apparently it's been said that he's contacted Harriet multiple times, her friends, and not been very nice and broken all the rules again. So he appeared at the Crown Court today. Obviously, there was the drawings that come out. He obviously only really said his name, who he is, la-di-la-di-la. Him and his family were there, and then he was taken away in a police van, and he will be sitting in jail until he's back November 21st. So we don't really need to get too much on that thing as well. But he did appear. Laurie Whitwell said that Mason Greenwood appeared in court on Monday after being charged with attempted rape, controlling and coercive behaviour, and assault. And Greenwood only spoke to confirm his name, date of birth, address at the beginning of the hearing. So I think Laurie Whitwell and a few journalists were there at the hearing, and they're basically saying, this is what went on. And then obviously, I mean, not that anyone probably cares, not that anyone really cares, but I'll show you this as well, just because some people are interested in this, some people aren't. I don't like that it gets so much attention, but there was, that was the wrong one. Let me show you this. Sorry. What you doing, Alice? But obviously the court pictures came out today, and someone had drew him in court where he's growing his hair out and stuff. So yeah, not a bad drawing, but that's the latest on Greenwood. So we won't need to talk about him until November 21st. And what I want to say, and what I really want to clear up as well, is people make up so much shit about Greenwood on the internet. People are so interested in this. They want to know what's happening and all of that. And people will constantly be making up shit about Greenwood on the internet. Anything you hear about Greenwood for between now and November 21st that's come from a complete stranger, random Twitter account is 99% going to be false, because he's sitting in jail until November 21st, and nothing is going to happen in the case. Nothing is going to change in the case until November 21st. So anything you hear is probably bullshit. So just, people will make up stuff on the internet. Someone will say next week, oh, he's been freed, he's innocent. It's bullshit. Like, nothing's going to happen until that is obviously done and sorted with. And he won't have his hearing till November 21st as well. Guys, please do smash that like button and subscribe down below if you're new, and share the video. Nick says, serve Greenwood right, he broke his parole clause while he was locked out and deserves to be locked up. Exactly, you break your bail just because you're a footballer, you deserve to be locked up for it. If you're making contact with the victim, it's not on, and Greenwood's now sitting in a cell because of it as well. Are you in a white tracksuit today, Alice? No, I'm in my pyjama top, because I did have an ice top on, but then I had a nap, so I'm in my pyjama top as well. And it's not uncommon to turn up to court like that, not in a suit. If they know they'll be taken into the cell. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. But I just think if I'm a judge and they turn up in a tracksuit, I think it will generally cloud my judgment. But I am not a judge for a reason, because I'm a fucking bitch, and I'd be thinking, oh my God, you're wearing a tracksuit, go in jail. I wouldn't actually do that well, but you know what I mean as well. But social media is an ugly place. People do make up things, but remember, nothing that comes out, unless it's from a Laurie Whitwell or someone, will be true as well. The fact they followed each other on Instagram and still follow each other on Instagram, they've had contact. The thing is, the rumours that came out last week, people are saying they're fake. Well, he's obviously been arrested, so the rumours that actually came out last week must have had some truth into it, that he was seeing her and contacting her. There was a big rumour last week that he was seeing her and that he was contacting her and all of that, and then he got arrested for breaching bail conditions. So there was obviously some truth in the rumours that he'd break, because he'd been arrested for having contact with her and he'd followed her on Instagram. And it said that he's broken bail conditions multiple times, trying to contact the victim and stuff. And it's just such a horrible case to even think about. Like, do you know what I hate about it is whenever something comes out about it, something comes out new. So, you know, it was first the audio tapes and the horrible things that came out. And then there was this threats to kill story. And then there's this controlling abusive behavior story. And then we got told today that he was, one of the reports that came out by the press association was, one of the charges was relating to him basically controlling her social media accounts, being derogatory, not letting her do this and that. And it's just horrible stories coming out. And, you know, and I just think, you know, it's such a nasty case. And unfortunately, it has to be to do with a Man United footballer. So it's something that we do talk about and we will show an interest in, because this is one of our footballers as well. But, you know, I always say about this, I'm hoping this can be used to raise awareness towards domestic abuse, raise awareness towards sexual assault, rape, all these serious subjects, because I think, you know, when you look on Twitter and you look at the things people will say, people will see this, people will see the voice notes, people will see the charges. And I know there's innocent until proven guilty. And, you know, people can, that's how we're meant to think. But people will then go and say all these horrible things, you know, saying, oh, the girl's a gold digger and all of that. And I think when you really look at social media, it tells you that a lot of people that are uneducated on things like this, there is innocent until proven guilty. But if you're going out there saying that you love this man and you hate this girl after you've heard that voice note and you don't know all the facts and I don't know all the facts, just don't say anything at all if you've got nothing nice to say. I always think with this case, it just shows that, you know, hopefully this will be used to raise awareness towards domestic abuse, because I think it's such a publicly case, even though it's so hidden and no one really knows what's going on behind the scenes. We know nothing. It's so public in the sense of everyone is aware of it, everyone, it's trending on Twitter. And I think because there's a lot of people that are uneducated about these kind of things, hopefully it'll be used to raise awareness of things. And this was the charge today, namely assessed and monitored social media accounts, stopped and altered the way she socialized and making threatening things. And this is what I mean, like every time I read something, it gets worse. He's apparently stopping her socializing with her friends, threatening her. Like, he wasn't just doing other things. We hear today he would stop her seeing her friends and was really controlling, and always horrible things coming out as well. And Nick says United should terminate his contract. Ten Hag is clearing out the negativity in the club and we don't need that. And I understand why a lot of people feel that way. The only thing is, in this country, is there is you know, innocent till proven guilty, and if he is found innocent, which we know is not going to go down well, you know, and United terminates contract, you can sue them. And David Shaw's a very smart guy, and if you don't like this stuff, I'd 100% recommending muting his name on Twitter as well. And Greenwood is being on trial by social media. No one knows the facts. 100%, no one knows the facts as well. But I think we'll move on from this story, because it's not the nicest story. But the thing is, there's nothing going on between now and November, which will be fine. And basically, he's just in prison for breaching bail conditions. I'm hearing Neymar might go for prison for fraud. There's a big difference between fraud and rape. I don't think you go to prison for fraud, because you do go to prison for fraud, but you don't sometimes. Sometimes if you're really rich, you just pay a massive ass fine, or is that just me? Fraud's an interesting one, because I read somewhere, I don't know if it's right, but like, fraud's the crime where you almost, it's a bad crime, but it's not, like, you don't need a bail or something because they don't see you as a risk or something. I don't know. I read up something like that. But I know nothing. I know nothing about the judicial system. I ain't a judge. All my knowledge comes from TV shows. So do not be relying on me to give you the knowledge, to give you the scoops on all the things going around. But let's get into some more stories. So I want to actually quickly talk about this. I thought this was a really brilliant story. Man United players are giving away their match tickets they give families to fans, because the idiots at Chelsea have basically made it so only a certain amount of Man United fans could go to the Chelsea match. So Man United players had stopped, instead of giving their family tickets, are giving them to fans, so more fans can come, which is a lot nice. But I actually want to talk about what Ten Hag said about Christian Eriksen. Ten Hag's kind of come out and spoken about the importance of Christian Eriksen on the Manchester United team and how he has such a big effect as well. And I'm from HK. First time I've watched you live. Viva Ronaldo. Thank you, Nim, for that. Appreciate it. Guys, please do smash that like button. And of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, make sure you are clacking that subscribe button, people. Click the subscribe button, share the video down below and all of this. But let's get away from this, the he shall not be named topic, and let's talk about Christian Eriksen as well. And Christian, this is a really interesting story. So Erik Ten Hag has come out and said, we miss him regarding Christian Eriksen. He's not available, but we have a squad and another 11 players on the pitch. So we'll have to construct another team and we can bring players from the bench, so we're all good. He says, I don't know if Eriksen will be available for Wednesday, but I hope so. So Ten Hag's come out and said that Eriksen might not be available for our game on Wednesday against Tottenham, which will be a massive, massive miss. McTominay will be back. And I never thought I'd say that, but I'm starting to appreciate Scott McTominay a bit more than I did last season at United already, because I think all in all he's been good. Take out Brighton and City game, he's not been bad. Do you know what? I'm going to be honest with Scott McTominay. Play him next to Casemiro as a box-to-box where he can get into the box, fine. I do not want to see Scott McTominay as a holding six, though. Box-to-box, please. But Eriksen is likely to be unavailable for the Tottenham game. And Ten Hag's obviously said we miss Eriksen. He's not available on the pitch and all of that. And I think one thing I highlight from Newcastle was the lack of creativity to break down teams. Without Eriksen, we really struggle. Now, I always thought Fred was quite good last season under Rangnick. In that 8 role, he did seem to create things. And weirdly, Fred actually created the most chances on the pitch, as chaotic as he was. But we just don't have that, maybe that intelligence on the ball where we can move the ball quickly, flow the ball, break down the defence. We don't seem to have that intelligence without Eriksen. And I think, I've never been the biggest fan of an Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno midfield three. I think we need a little bit more balance. I think an Casemiro, Donny, Eriksen midfield three would be my ideal one, or even see Sancho in the 10 role at some point. But, and I'd always say, I've always wanted to see Eriksen more as a 10 than in this kind of 6-8 role. However, I just think when I look at it now and I go, I know why Eriksen's playing out of position now. I know Eriksen's playing in that role now. It all makes sense because we can't break down teams, and he is someone that we need to break down teams as well. Nick said his team for Spurs would be De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Malacia, Casemiro, McTominay, Anthony, Eriksen, Rashford, Ronaldo. That would be mine. If Martial's fit, I would play him. But that would be my lineup as well. And McTominay has flashed a brilliant performance, but sometimes he lacks consistency. McTominay, the thing about McTominay is he could put in a 10 out of 10 performance, and you're thinking, wow, that was world class. And then the next 5 games, he could be putting in 2 out of 10s. McTominay this season put in probably a 1 out of 10 versus Brighton, probably a 0 out of 10 versus Brighton. Then obviously the next 4 games he puts in like 8, 9 out of 10 performances. Then the Man City game he goes back to a 3 out of 10. Then he comes on and he puts about 5, 6 out of 10 in. So McTominay he's very inconsistent, very up down, and that's not just McTominay. That is a large chunk of the United squad as well. We missed Eriksen's actual intelligence, which is exactly what I'm saying. I think one thing we missed is that when Christian Eriksen is on the ball, he has that intelligence to read the game. And, he can flow the ball quickly. I always said this, and I pointed this out, and I think I saw it on Twitter. I felt that United were trying to force things to happen versus Newcastle. We were trying to force the ball to Ronaldo. There was time and time again where United could have just stopped, made the simple pass. Remember, Anthony had an opportunity to just square it to like 3 players on the edge of the box. And he goes and tries to put this cross into Ronaldo, can't find Ronaldo, and it's cleared. And sometimes United need to just sit there and go, we don't need to be doing this wonder ball into the box to get an assist, just the simple pass. And sometimes they just sit there and go, United, that's all you need to do is this simple pass. And I felt like we were trying too hard to force the ball to Ronaldo and make things happen. There was a lack of intelligence on the ball. But with Eriksen, he makes those simple decisions and those little decision-making things look so easy. And, I think that why we need Eriksen, because he can move the ball better. He makes the hard decisions look easy. He creates things. I think as well with Eriksen, we just seem to score more goals when he's on the pitch. And I think when he's not playing, you realise how important he is to that United side, and actually how big and how good of a player Christian Eriksen is. And I think he's absolutely, like, he's had some iffy games. You take the City and Brentford game, look, it weren't great. But all in all, you just look at Eriksen and you go, yeah, no, Eriksen, he is an absolutely fantastic player, and a player that we definitely miss as well. I want to see, someone said they want to see Casemiro and McTominay together and Eriksen at cam. I feel like the balance could be good. I want to see McTominay play as an actual box-to-box. I said this about McTominay. I've always slandered McTominay when he's been poor, and he's been poor a lot. But I always said one thing, and even when McTominay was having some of his worst periods at United, I always said one thing with Scott McTominay. I said, with Scott McTominay, I like to see him in a box-to-box role. I said, with Scott McTominay, the one thing I will give him is he's playing out of position and he's playing next to Fred in a 6 role, and that could be the reason he's bad. Because all of McTominay's 10 out of 10 performances, he's been playing as a box-to-box. And I've always said with McTominay, I'd like to see him in a box-to-box role, playing next to an actual top number 6, playing next to an actual out-and-out top number 6, which would give him the freedom to run forward. And look, with Scott McTominay, you don't know what you're going to get. You're either going to get the McTominay that puts in a 10 out of 10 or the normal 2 out of 10 McTominay. But I'm really intrigued to see what he would do next to Casemiro, because I think he could push forward as a box-to-box, which I still think is his best position, and Eriksen can add that much-needed balance. I mean, what guys, what's your midfield three? What's your ideal midfield three for United versus Tottenham? I do like Bruno, but I do think he needs a rest. I think with Bruno, he's always trying to make things happen, and when the decision-making is feeling bad in the final third, when it seems like United are forcing things in the final third, that's when I do sit here and say, I do love Bruno Fernandes. You guys know I like Bruno Fernandes. But it's feeling a bit forced at the moment from Bruno. It's feeling a bit like the ball is a grenade every time Bruno's on the ball. And I'm just like, we need to relax a bit again. And Eriksen against Arsenal, absolutely crucial. 381 people watching, guys, so please do smash that like button. And, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I go live every single evening, keeping you up to date on all the latest news and more as well. Got a few other stories to get into. We can get into the Luke Shaw interview in just a second. I want to get this on the screen, actually, because I meant to change the screen a minute ago, but I've changed the screen on the wrong tab. So I've just realized you still got the horrible story up on the stream as well, on the screen. Fucking hell, tongue twister as well. But basically, Samuel, like I said, that Diogo Dalot wants to stay at United despite interest from Barcelona. Barcelona are coming in here, and Barcelona are basically desperately trying to swoop up Diogo Dalot. He's got 1 year left. They know we can get him cheap. United are probably going to extend his contract because he has been good this season, and there's definitely no reliance on Dalot. He's the only outfield player that's played every game. But Barcelona are ready to make a move for Dalot. And Dalot has basically said that he is more than happy to reject Barcelona for Man United. So see Frankie de Jong, yeah, suck on that, Frankie de Jong, because Diogo Dalot would rather be at Barcelona, but rather be at United than Barcelona. But I am only joking. We will talk about de Jong, and I think, you know, right, Fred, Rashford, Shaw, De Gea, Diogo Dalot and Ronaldo have all got 1 year left on their contract, and I think if one needs to be extended, it would be Dalot. All of them have the option to extend for a year, and I think Diogo Dalot, if we were going to extend one, would probably be the best option, and I think we can all agree on that as well. It probably would be the best option. Let me get this story up on my screen though. Here, go away, Greenwood. Let me get this story up on my screen here. I can't get it up. Fuck's sake, man. Why is it not coming up? I don't know. But basically, Frankie de Jong, Romano basically said that Frankie de Jong did speak about United and Chelsea. And according to Frankie de Jong told Sigo and Disport that Chelsea and Man United bids. He said he was calm. He decided in May he wanted to stay, and my opinion never changed. I remain calm. Then I know the pressure will start coming from all sides. I want to stay at Barcelona, so it never made me confused. So Frankie de Jong actually has come out and spoken about, you know, his decision to stay at Barcelona, the Man United rumours and everything. And look, Ten Hag and de Jong are still in contact. Still think this move can happen next season. But the thing that really confuses me is he's saying that he decided in May he wanted to stay at Barcelona. So why did Man United waste the whole of May, June and July pursuing de Jong? Why did we fly to Barcelona in July? If de Jong had decided in May he was going to stay, why would we fly to Barcelona in July? Either de Jong is lying, wanted the move, can't say he wanted the move secretly because he wouldn't get his deferred wages, he's still at Barcelona, and he expected the move to happen, or the Manchester United board are more fucking incompetent than I thought. If he decided to stay in May, why would Arnold and Murta be flying out in July to get this deal done? Why would they be ignoring all the other deals, all the other potential players they could sign to focus on this one deal? For me, I'll be honest, I'll probably call it a bit of bullshit here from Frankie de Jong. I just think I know the board is stupid. I know Murta and Arnold are stupid. I mean, flying for Rabiot, twerking for Rabiot. But I just think surely there must have been some kind of thing where it was. I think it was about the deferred wages. I don't think. Look, it was. They'll say on the outskirts, Frankie de Jong never wanted to leave. It was Champions League football and all of that. But I still think it's deferred wages because the really reliable Dutch journalist came out and said, trust me, de Jong was meant to happen. United weren't going to pay the deferred wages. I think it was a bit more about deferred wages, if I'm being honest, because as stupid as Arnold is, like, why would you fly out in July to beg for this player? Why would we make a bid for a player, fly to Barcelona to sign a player that decided in May he wasn't going to come and he was going to stay at Barcelona? So why would we waste 2 months on it? I just think, are we that idiotic in the transfer window? Twerking for Rabiot. United were basically begging for Rabiot to come. Remember, we flew to Italy and offered Rabiot ridiculous wages and was like, please come to United. That's what I mean by twerking to Rabiot as well. And David said his first video is going to be titled In Defence of Fred. David's running the Fred Defence League here. At least someone's repping Fred as well. I do actually like Fred, but he was, in my opinion, he weren't great. And I want to see Scott, Casemiro and Eriksen in front and Igborn for Scott's second half. I'd have liked to potentially seen Igborn given a run, just considering that the Newcastle game we used one sub, even if it was for like 7 minutes, sub Fred off in the 83rd minute. It would have been nice to see what Igborn could do in that time, just to change it up a little bit. Because we didn't change up the Newcastle game the whole game. We didn't make any subs. We didn't make any changes. So I think with the Newcastle game, it was very much like they could just predicted they want to go. We need Leo and Tony. I mean, Ivan Toney's a fucking baller as well. And can't believe we didn't give James Garner a chance. Must have lost to James. James Garner even playing for Everton though as well. I'm not sure. And Jamie says Eriksen was a free transfer. He's already making an impact at our club. I'm glad we signed him. Wanted him a few years ago before he went to Spurs. Yeah, absolute baller as well. Absolute baller. I want to get into my next story actually. And it's a story that I think you guys are going to find really interesting. It's something Luke Shaw came out and said. And this is why I love Luke Shaw. And this is why, people are critical of Luke Shaw and Maguire. I think Luke Shaw and Maguire, those two players everyone's critical of. But what I like about Luke Shaw that Maguire doesn't have is Luke Shaw will come up publicly and say, I've not been good enough. I like that I've been dropped because it gives me that kick up the bum. I like the competition. Whereas Maguire comes out and said, if I'd have been as bad as everyone was saying, I would be on the bench and not playing every game under Ragnick. Actually, what Maguire did say. And I'm probably going to make a video on this tomorrow morning because I think it's shots at Jose and I think it's big shots at Ollie. And I think this backs up the Eric Bailly story about the biased and player favouritism. I think this Luke Shaw thing backs up all the stories going about. Every time I try and search something up, it's just like, no, come on, show me. But Luke Shaw spoke about Erik Ten Hag. And Luke Shaw said this about Ten Hag. He said the good thing about the manager, this gaffer, is that if you're not playing well, then you won't play. So that is big shots at Jose. That is big shots at Ollie. Luke Shaw says, I like that this gaffer, if you're not playing well, you won't play. In the past, that's not been the case. But it's a good thing about these new managers because he's keeping everyone on his toes. Eric Bailly came out and said the bias to the English players. And we know the main cause of the dressing room divide was because players were getting frustrated that the same players were playing week in, week out. There were players on the bench that were never given an opportunity, and then the players in their position were playing poor week in, week out. That's how the league started. That's how the toxicity started. That's how the divide started, because I think apparently Ronaldo, I don't know if this is true, Ronaldo, Varane and Pogba went to Ragnick and told him to drop Maguire. And that is how the dressing room divide seemed to cause between the French and the Portuguese speaking players and the English-speaking players. That was one of the causes of the divide, reportedly. And the whole dressing room divide and all the issues and all the leaks were surrounded of, why is Maguire playing every week over me? Why is Scott McTominay playing every week over me? It was because Luke Shaw had said in the past, that's not been the case. He said, with Ten Hag, you play if you're playing well. Ten Hag's made it very clear to United players and how he's won over the dressing room, how he's won over the respect of the players. And we've mentioned this a couple of times. David Ornstein said these players won't turn on Ten Hag. Trust me, he said, because Ten Hag said, look, if you're not playing well, you're not going to play. And I love how Luke Shaw says this. The good thing about this manager, this gaffer, is that if you're not playing well, then you're just not going to play at all. And he said, in the past, that's not been the case. And that's shots at Ollie. That's probably shots at Rangnick as well. Luke Shaw then followed it up by saying he makes sure that everyone is 100% every day. And if you're not at 100%, you won't play, which is a positive thing. Shaw said, again, regarding Ten Hag, you can't moan when you're not playing. I just had to be there every day with the team, being involved and helping the team, whether it be starting or playing on the bench. And this is what I love that Luke Shaw said. I love Luke Shaw's honesty, and I'm going to get this quote up on the screen. But this is my favourite thing that Luke Shaw said, because I like it when a player can take criticism themselves and, let's say, admit that they haven't been great. And Luke Shaw said, to be honest, I didn't really need Ten Hag to say anything for me. I knew in the first 2 games of the season I was nowhere near good enough. I completely understood that it was my time to come out the team. Luke Shaw comes out publicly and said, I should have been dropped. I needed Ten Hag to drop me. It gave me the kick up the arse I needed. I wasn't good enough. I didn't need him to tell me that. I know I wasn't good enough. I understand why he's dropped me. But him dropping me has kept me on my toes, Luke Shaw said. It's a positive thing that he's dropped me. He's kept me on my toes because it means that I'm always giving 100%. I'm always in and around the squad. And that is the real big positive impact Erik Ten Hag's having on the Man United squad. And that's the real big thing that I love about Ten Hag and what he's doing as well. And one of the strictest managers we've ever had. And Bruno Fernandes came out publicly and said one of the things he likes about Erik Ten Hag is Ten Hag gives this Man United squad much needed discipline. Bruno said, we know this Man United team needs discipline. Ten Hag brings this much needed discipline that the Man United squad need as well. Bruno came out and said that as well. There's obviously an issue with, discipline, lack of discipline at United as well, and strictness. And I think the strictness of a Ten Hag is something that I think does go down really, really well with the United players, because they've been coming out time and time again saying, we need discipline at United. We are lacking discipline at United. And I think they're absolutely right. And I think they 100% need that as well. Luke Shaw does have a cool surname, though missing an E for extra cool points as well. But Lisandro Martinez again bringing discipline. And Mr. Miracle said, I've been impressed with Luke Shaw so far. I was not a fan of him or wanted him at the club, but his recent behaviour, now he's just been putting his head down and getting on with stuff's changed my mind. Luke Shaw's just come out and said, I deserve to be dropped. I wasn't good. I like that there's competition. He said, Luke Shaw again said, you can't moan when you're not playing. I just have to be there every day with the team, helping and being involved. Luke Shaw said, I just had to keep training hard every day in training so the manager could see I was training hard. I was just waiting for my opportunity and I had to bide my time because the team were doing well when they were winning. And Luke Shaw, when we watched Luke Shaw play in that Everton game, that was his one chance. You could see Luke Shaw was fantastic in the Everton game. We won 2-1 because you could see that was a player that knew this is his game to prove himself. He plays well, he keeps his place. He plays poor, he's dropped. That Malacia competition has got Luke Shaw on his toes, because that is the game where it's like, okay, holy shit, Luke Shaw's like, I got to do better or I'm absolutely out of the squad. And he played that Everton game it was like a trial, because you can tell with the attitude Ten Hag's put in there, Luke Shaw knew if you weren't playing well, you weren't going to play. And he's saying, I admit that I should be dropped. I admit I haven't been good enough. I've just got to give 100%, be with the team, train with the team and work hard. And Luke Shaw said the thing about Ten Hag is he makes sure everyone gives 100% every day. And if you're not giving 100%, you won't play. And Luke Shaw said that is a good thing as well. So I really like, obviously, the effect that Ten Hag is having on the Manchester United squad as well. The lack of professionalism is astounding. It's astounding. The Man United team running after the ref, everything yesterday. I don't blame the United team for running after the ref, though, as well. And Bruno dishing out shit football for months. Yeah, he's still the first in the first 11 worst captain ever. I wouldn't say Bruno's a worse captain than Maguire. I don't think Bruno's been as bad as people make out Bruno's been. I understand why Bruno plays, but he's been very iffy in matches. He's been giving the ball away very sillily, be very iffy. I'll not be surprised if Maguire is still at United next season. I don't know with Maguire. It depends how his season goes. I think if he stops playing, then 100% as well. 9 billion. So the price was 3.75 billion for United, but now it's 9 billion, which basically means the only way United can be sold is if the Emirate of Dubai comes in. The only way United can be sold is if the Emirate of Dubai comes in with a 9 billion bid. So there's reports that people in Dubai do want to buy United, but however, they've not gone public with their interest. But if someone is going to be able to buy United, it's not going to be Jim Ratcliffe. It's going to be Dubai, because it's going to cost £9 billion to buy Manchester United. And why am I watching the Ballon d'Or? Because it's crap. I mean, the rankings are so bad. How is Fabinho finishing ahead of Casemiro? how is this player finishing? I sit there and I go, how is this player finishing ahead of this player? How is this player ahead of this player? That's all I think. I think Fabinho ahead of Casemiro. Where's the sense in that? I think Darwin Núñez ranks 25th, but Messi ranks 83rd. Like, I'm a Ronaldo girl, but I've got eyes. I think for me, Neymar probably should have won it this year. You know, you see Sebastian Haller coming in the top 15. Look, I get it, sympathy, but the rankings for the Ballon d'Or are shite. They're always shite. Now, I'm happy that someone's winning it. Is it Messi or Ronaldo? I think Benzema's been great. Neymar's been great. But, you know, and I'm glad that Ronaldo finished above Messi just for the flex of being a Ronaldo fan. But I just think with the Ballon d'Or rankings, they're always crap. You know, I remember like Phil Foden scored like 2 seasons ago, came like 12th. I was like, yep, was he 12th? I mean, the rankings are crazy. Fulham Ballon d'Or as well. And Man, you also get Chelsea weekend at the weekend. Yeah, I mean, Man United have got a half fixture list coming up, which we will get into. Tottenham, Chelsea, and West Ham are our next 3 Premier League games. Very, very thing. And people saying, please, to buy Prince, buy United. That's the only hope. That's the only people that can afford the 9 billion as well. Lewandowski was robbed 2020. They had to give it to Messi. Lewandowski deserved it, but you know what they're like? They have to give it to Messi. And it looks like the Glazers are not interested in moving on. 9 billion is a statement of intent. The reason there's a 9 billion price tag is because they don't want to sell unless someone overplays as well. What channel's the Ballon d'Or? And I think Benzema Lewandowski should win it. I'm not a clue. Not a clue, but apparently it's still going on. Apparently the Ballon d'Or ceremony goes on for hours and hours. Do you know what? Off topic here. Do you know what always really winds me up? Is the Champions League draws. They'll say the Champions League draw starts at 12, but by the time they're actually putting the balls out the bowl, it's probably 12:15. They do an hour of talking, and then they like do the round. Then they'll do the first pot, and then they'll do a load of talking. Then they'll do the second pot. They do a load of talking. It ends up being a 2-hour thing watching the Champions League draw because all they do is natter, go on and on and on. And I just think, for fuck's sake, get on with the fucking draw. I don't know if you guys always feel like that when you watch the Champions League draws. I don't watch the Europa League draws because you know what? Unless it's the knockout stage, I've got no interest in watching the Europa League draw because it just makes me fall asleep. The Champions League draws I will watch, but it is just painful watching the Champions League draw from time to time. It is just painful because it's so slow, like the Ballon d'Or thing. I feel like they just got to drag it on. I don't know why. Probably Sky and BT as well. Who wins the Ballon d'Or? I'm assuming it's going to be Benzema. And young player award could go to Jude Bellingham. Apparently it's going to Gavi. I think Musiala could be up there. Pedri could be up there. You know, give it to Elanga. Haha. But yeah, let's get into some topics though. Let's get into some other topics. So let's get into Manchester United stuff, and let's get into Man United here. So nil with Newcastle. Tottenham, Chelsea, West Ham, next 3 Premier League games. 3 very difficult Premier League games against 3 very good sides. Now, we're going to the Tottenham game, 8:15. Why so late? I'm going to struggle to stay awake. I really am, like an old person now. But we need to win. 3 points puts us on 19 points, equal with Chelsea, and would put us 4 points behind Tottenham with a game in hand. We win, we go 4 points behind Tottenham with a game in hand, and if we beat Tottenham and Chelsea, we'll be sitting in 4th because actually Chelsea have a better goal difference than us. If we beat Tottenham and Chelsea in our next 2 games, we'll be sitting on 21 points, either in 5th or 4th, 1 point behind Spurs, which has put us in a much better position. And I don't think we'll get top 4. I think maybe if we invest in January, we'll. Don't think we'll get top 4, but if we win these 2 games coming up, I think that is United's best bet of getting top 4. But again, difficult fixtures coming up. And then obviously you've got Villa, which should be easy, although Gerrard will be sacked, so they'll probably be good. You've got Fulham, which I thought would be easy, but it's difficult. Nottingham Forest will be easy, but look, that is not till December. Do you know what's scary? Is after October, there's only 2 Premier League games being Villa and Fulham. You know, I don't like that the World Cup is taken up as part of the season. I really don't. But, you know, all the difficult games are coming now. But post-World Cup, at least we're going to have the easy games like the Forests and the Bournemouths. Trust Man United to be the team that has to wait till after the World Cup to get their free shot of Forest and Bournemouth. It'll probably be good after the World Cup because they've had some time together. What a ball draw. Do you think Spurs will be a win or a draw or a loss, guys, as well? I'm on the train home. Going to have to watch the stream on the train. You know what? I don't mind watching football on the train. It makes the train journey go quicker as well. Is Benzema won yet or not? If they actually announced who's won the Ballon d'Or yet or not? They'll probably go on for another 2 hours, won't they? You know what they're like in the Ballon d'Or ceremony and stuff. But I do want to get into 1 or 2 more stories before I end the live stream. But before I end the live stream and get into these last 2 stories, one of them was about Joao Felix to Manchester United, which we'll get into in just a second. But please do smash that like button. And if you are new, subscribe down below to Manchester United. Remember, I go live every single evening on the channel, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more. And Romano went on the United stand today, and Romano said that Atletico Madrid's situation with Joao Felix previously with United is difficult because they are sticking to the player's €350 million release clause. So apparently, if we want Joao Felix, that's the kind of money we want to pay. And I'll be honest, Joao Felix, I don't even think it's worth 100 million, in my opinion, which is an unpopular opinion, but I don't actually rate Joao Felix all that much myself. I wouldn't pay 100 million for him, but that is just me. I mean, he's a good player, Joao Felix, and I'd like him at United, but I wouldn't be spending more than 70 million on him, especially because, as we spoke about at the beginning of the video, I think United are in a position in the rebuild where United need 5, 6, 7, 8 new signings, but I don't think we can really afford to go out and put all our money on one player. I think that we need to balance it out and sign 5, we need to sign 5, 30, 40 million pound players, rather than going, you know what, let's go and pull all our money and try and sign this player. For me, it would just make no sense. But to be fair, when do United ever make sense as well? And Man United can pass the ball side to side a lot. It took 80 minutes to get a decent chance. It was the easiest game we had at Old Trafford in 30 years. You know what? Newcastle didn't show up. They made it a really easy game for us. And that's why I think, as a United fan, I'm really disappointed we didn't get anything out of the Newcastle game. But look, guys, I'm going to end the live stream here. Please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Make sure to check out the OneFootball app as well. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest football news, scoreline updates, and more from around the world, there's a link pinned in the chat. There's a link in the description to go ahead and download the OneFootball app. Half the stories we spoke about in today's video was based off the OneFootball app news and all of that. So big up everyone that's tuned in. Subscribe on the way out because I will be live tomorrow, and then Wednesday there will be a watch along. Share the video, like, subscribe, share, all of the stuff. Big up everybody. See you next time. Bye.